3 o'clock on May 18th, 2021. Present is Commissioner Peach and myself. Also present, Commissioners Ross and Commissioner Knopf. The matter before the court is a proposal by the sheriff relative to deputy pay scale. So take it away, Sheriff.
Sure. Chairman, Falk, members of the commission, thank you for giving me some time today to speak with you about a proposal that I'd like you to start considering for the potential 2022 budget. I'd like to thank Commissioner Knopf for supporting the thin blue line with our outfit today. Law enforcement family, looks very nice. Thank you for that. What I requested this meeting for today was, well, just going back a little bit, in 2019, my intentions were to explore our starting salary or our overall salaries for deputy sheriffs at the sheriff's office for the 2020 budget. I'm sorry, for 2020 into 2021. This thing called COVID happened, and I decided it would be in the best interest of our office and the public to wait another calendar year and bring the issue up for the 2022 budget. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. What I'm proposing is an increase in the starting salary for deputy sheriffs. In order to do that fair and equitable, that starting salary would have to be, it would have to flow through our entire pay scale and affect every deputy sheriff sworn officer in our agency. The only individual that I didn't include on this proposal was myself. You won't see me getting a salary increase anywhere on any documents that I provide you or any discussions that we may have in the future or today. For example, I've talked to several agencies, a lot of county sheriff's offices, and some police departments to pull comparable wage study throughout only our state of North Dakota. Felt like that was the fairest way to do it as far as taxes, assessments, all of that stuff. Population wise, there are some in here that obviously skew things a little bit. Individuals with oil money, as anticipated, can pay their employees a little bit better. There are some that are quite eye-opening for myself and potentially for some of you when you hear their starting salary. The adjusted starting salary for a deputy sheriff as of May 1st, 2021, after discrepancy was noted, is $44,534.37. Comparables, when I say comparable, every agency, law enforcement agency that resides in Grand Forks County, UND, the Highway Patrol, and UND or in Grand Forks PD, out of the 4 entities, we are the lowest paid of all of them. Grand Forks Police Department starting officer salary without the academy starts at $56,296. And I would have to double check to verify that was prior to the academy, but that is within a couple $1,000s. A UND police officer starts at $45,622.50. Also noted there is that they have 100% of their insurance paid. On that note, through my exploration and my salary study, I did look through the Association of Counties website, the information they provide regarding benefits by counties that is reported by auditors throughout the state. And benefits are all across the board. There are several, surprisingly several, that do pay 100% of insurance, family plans or single plans. There's some that pay 100% of PERS contributions. So I'm not saying that our benefits aren't great. Our benefits are really good. They're not bad either. So throwing in all of the benefits on some of these, I did make note of some were of discussion as far as, well, they probably don't have as good of benefits. Some of them have quite better benefits than we do. North Dakota Highway Patrol, again, is a state agency, but they are employed in our county. They start at $58,560. and they also have fully paid insurance. In our immediate area, Walsh County directly north of us, I apologize for not having their population or the size of their county, but they are substantially smaller. They employ 11 deputies. Their starting salary is $46,080. Stutzman County, which is Jamestown area, also smaller than us. They have 10 deputies total. Their starting salary is $47,081.28. I would keep going. I'll provide you with this list here in a little bit of other counties comparable wise, their starting salaries and notes on some of them that I could find as far as how many deputies they employ, and some of them that annotated that they do have 100% of their insurance provided. One thing that I want to note is there's a few bullet points, and one of them is the uniqueness of a sheriff's office compared to other county entities. There's 2 offices in the county, the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office. They're run by elected officials. The rest are departments throughout the county. Some people throw a department and office back and forth. It's not a big deal. Technically, we are an office, but we're noted as a department, as you see on the patches that I'm wearing today as well for a lot of people. Our training program in our office compared to other departments, which also have long training periods, ours lasts 4 months minimum for a brand new hire, and the entire 4 months is spent in the accompaniment of another deputy. Oftentimes, that deputy is required to be here a minimum of 3 years, and several are of the rank of corporal. What does that mean? We're investing 2 individuals' time and efforts to the safe training and security of the county, which ties up thousands of dollars over a 4-month time frame. When officers start, oftentimes they need custom equipment. The day of hand-me-downs is not acceptable. If we hand down a piece of body armor to a new deputy, and God forbid they ever take a round in it, and it wasn't custom fit to them or is the wrong size, our county is now liable. Very rarely do we have deputies come in replacing other officers that have left us that actually fit the body armor. As you can imagine, a piece of body armor and the carrier that you see some officers wearing costs about $1,000, just for example. Our belts are different sized. We have ammunition for training, initial qualifications, whether that's taser cartridges, actual bullets for all of our weaponry. Those aren't cheap either. Those are all starting costs. It costs us thousands of dollars to get these individuals trained up and get started so they can serve the county. We're the 3rd largest county in the state, and our starting salary is less than several smaller counties and agencies, including those that aren't in oil country that I noted above in the list I'll provide you. We have several deputies that work multiple jobs. Our office has a policy where if you request outside employment, it has to be approved by the sheriff, and there's an application that you need to complete. Unfortunately, we have quite a file of those due to deputies not being able to sustain an adequate living because of the salary that they're receiving here. What does that cause? What kind of problems would that be for us? When you have days off, especially in a stressful job as we have, those days off are meant for you to try to recover physically, mentally, spend time with your family, taking care of home obligations, etc. We have deputies now that are nearly working a full-time job off duty so they can make ends meet. That is not allowing their body time to recover from shifts, whether that's night shift, their 10-hour shifts, or working longer incidents that cause them for holdover callback. It's taken away from their well-being, which adds extra stress to their job when they come back to work their shift. Our office, like I said, we're different from other departments on several levels in the county. One is the daily stress from calls for service that we respond to, not to mention on the unfortunate reality of getting shot at, or on a regular basis, regular shifts being threatened or having our families threatened with bodily harm, etc. I do understand that we all did sign up for this job. When we fill out our applications, we check the box that we're willing to work nights, weekends, holidays, rotating shifts, etc. The stress that is caused through the media, social media over the last 4+ years, repeatedly day after day on national news, putting out that law enforcement is not something to be trusted or respected, makes it hard for recruitment. Not only that, but recruitment and retention with low pay doesn't help with our profession as it's being destroyed on the national news. Where am I going with this? Why am I trying to single out our agency versus other county entities? The reason for that is part of this proposal is a law enforcement specific pay scale that would be applicable to the sheriff's office. Our standard pay scale runs through, I'm not sure, grade 19 maybe, or 20? 18? No, the county scale goes through 18.
No, the county scale goes to 23.
Okay, the county scale goes through 23. The sheriff's pay scale I'm proposing would only cover scale or grade 9 through 18. That spans from our courthouse security deputy to our chief deputy.
It's 25. Michelle had.
Oh, okay, 25, sorry. There's 25 different grades on the scale, and I'm proposing to adjust a grade 9 through 18 specific to the sheriff's office. Again, this is a starting point, talking point, hopefully, to come up with some fruitful discussion with the commission and open up some options. I would not object to several different options that could potentially be on the table. One thing to note is, I've told you one thing to note several times, I apologize. But we've lost 4 amazing deputies over an 8-month time span, and that started last summer and continued through the beginning of this year. Those 4 deputies all went to other law enforcement agencies, included in our own town, Grand Forks PD. One of them went to the North Dakota Highway Patrol, went to the Game and Fish, North Dakota Game and Fish, and one went to the Minnesota State Patrol. And although some of them stated it was their dream job, magically they all pay better. I am sure that if Grand Forks County Sheriff's Office paid their deputies a little bit better, we would also be other deputies' dream jobs, like myself and Chief Deputy Stromberg are living right now. Not only that, not only losing qualified candidates for higher pay, but through our application process, we have now noted on our notice for openings that we are open to adjusting the starting salary, that it is negotiable. We've had several very qualified candidates apply that we would love to have at our agency that want to work for the sheriff's office and serve our community. But when it comes down to it and the starting salary negotiability isn't to their level, which would be way below a lot of their current salaries, they say, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm going to pass. With better pay for our deputies, we will receive better candidates for the interviews or for the positions, and we will also in turn have better retention. I've noted, and I'm sure Commissioner Ross, who served as the sheriff for 8 years and worked with the sheriff's office for 40, could also note that if you can retain an individual, a deputy, for 7 years, the likelihood of them leaving your agency drops significantly. And that's kind of a tender period is what we've noticed. All of these officers that we're losing for higher pay, they are leaving within that time frame. And that is typically when the agency's investing the most money overall into these individuals, these deputies. So we're trying to get over that benchmark. And like I said, there's several opportunities that I've learned about talking with other sheriffs around the state, different angles that they work with their pay scales that could maybe be an opportunity. Some numbers that I was able to obtain, and they are very accurate. They are maybe not to the penny, but they're pretty darn close. These were obtained through the county finance and tax office. She worked in finance, Colleen. Okay. So right now, if the county was to not do anything for the sheriff's office / employees next year besides a step increase for eligible employees. And when I say employees, I want to clarify, I'm only speaking about sworn officers. I'm not talking about our support staff. So sworn deputies that wear a badge. That would be an increase with a step of $60,212.26 plus or minus. If we receive no raise, but a cost of living increase of 3% and a step for 2022, and the step would only be for eligible employees, that would be an increase to the county of $130,013.26. I give you those numbers as you would have anyways, plus or minus cents. So you can potentially subtract those from the next numbers I'm going to provide you. If the,
Let me interrupt just a
Yes.
second, Sheriff. What's the $60,000 number again?
that is just a step for eligible deputy sheriffs.
And then the second number would be step and 3%.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So those numbers I would encourage you to use to subtract from the total amounts I'm going to provide you next, if the commission were to consider a couple of my options. The first option I ran was a flat raise of $5,000 for a starting deputy sheriff. So a starting deputy sheriff, we'll start with the courthouse, that's grade 9-1, would receive a $5,000 increase. A 10-1, which would be a road deputy, would be $5,000 plus 6%. It would then flow through each step a 3% increase from 1 to 13. Okay, so it would affect every deputy employed, like I said, besides myself. A 5,000 increase, this would not include a COLA or a step, just a flat from where we are with our anniversary dates, would be $273,108.23. Yes,
Question, so is that $5,000 across the board, or that works up when you're figuring that 3%, right?
that works up and it works down and to the right. So a 9-1 would be 5,000. A 9-2 would be 5,000 plus the 3% increase to their salary.
What would the top, okay, so if you keep going across the board, what does the top get?
So for a grade 9 step 13 with a $5,000 increase, they would receive, their top end would be $67,030.08.
So what's that increase level?
That increase level would be from, well, their base, a 913 on the current scale would be 59,901. So you're looking at about $8,000. If I did my math right. The second option would be,
Let me ask another
Yes.
question. But now that's on grade 9.
yes,
It also impacts it up on the other grades. For instance, if you've got, let's add it all the grades, lieutenant or sergeants or whatever. Where does that go up on the top end of the scale?
sure. So your example that you just stated was a grade, would be a grade 13, that would be a sergeant, okay? So currently a sergeant maxes out at $75,623.99. With a 5,000 increase, flowing the schedule to a step 13, they would max out at $84,623.94.
And then is there above that? How many other ranks are above sergeant?
The only two ranks above that are captain and chief deputy.
Okay, and where would they go?
A captain would max out at $100,788.46. Currently, they max out at $90,069 and some change.
About a $10,000 difference.
And chief deputy would max out at $113,245 and change. And currently, they max out at $101,201 and change. that's with if we stuck with the exact same scale with 13 steps moving forward. Again, I said, I'm willing to talk about anything with you as far as how far the scale runs up. If we drop it down steps to decrease that top end, or any other options that you would consider. There's some other options I can definitely run by you that I learned about in other counties. The next number that I requested to be ran was a starting salary increase of $8,000 at a 9-1. The reason that I grabbed $8,000 is I felt that would be fairly comparable to fair market value for agencies that are similar in size, duties, et cetera, in the state of North Dakota to make us competitive, including in our own city and county. So an $8,000 increase again for the base start would be a total increase to the budget in 2022 of $435,078.52. And with that number, you know, I would encourage you, like I said, if it was in consideration to either give us a step and COLA going into next year to subtract those first two numbers I provided you from that total. These are the rough numbers that I came up with to propose to you. I obviously would be encouraged as long as our agency would be delighted to see a baseline of $8,000 increase. I think that would help us with our retention of deputies for a lengthy period of time. It would cut down extremely on costs for starting people over and training periods. Now, obviously, we're always going to have turnover with retirements or unforeseen circumstances, but I feel like this would be a significant benefit to the county and the citizens that we serve that are living here, working here, and driving through here every day.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Peach, comments?
I do have a couple of questions. One of the things that I know when you start talking about the steps and the grades and the percentages moving up, I'd like to know, and you can work with Michelle to figure this out. I would like to know what it would cost to do just a straight 5,000. No percentage increases, just a straight 5,000 to all of your deputies. And how many deputies do you have?
33.
Okay, I'd like to know what it is for just a straight 5,000, and I'd like to know what it costs for a straight 8,000. Not percentage increases, just a straight 8,000 across the board. I know that.
$165,000
Oh, sorry.
for 5,000
Oh,
and $264,000 for 8,000.
oh, sorry.
That's okay.
You know, the biggest issue is, you know, the entry level sheriff's deputies, so that they are interested in being employed by Grand Forks County, as well as to retain them so they don't move on. You know, when you list, you know, you gave us Walsh County and Stutzman County. Obviously, it's a much smaller pool that you're working with. We have 33, whereas they have 11. Walsh County has a third, and Stutzman County is right around that third too. So it's just a more significant salary increase. I know that if we start looking at some kind of an increase with our entry level, and then we screw up the grading system, but if we did just a straight across the board salary increase, that would at least, even if you looked at 5,000 with the 44.5 that we offer, 5,000 would be, you know, into 49,000. Obviously, it's not gonna catch up to the Grand Forks Police Department, but it's certainly gonna be higher than UND. One of the things you have to to recognize with UND is they are state employees. And so that's where that 100% insurance paid. Social services deals with that too, with the zone and individuals moving out of the social services division or program of Grand Forks County into the state, a state employee. We've had a couple of those happen. But, you know, that's where that 100% insurance comes from. But obviously it's, we need to consider it. We need to consider it with law enforcement. Where are we at on helmets? We need helmets. I'm not dropping that helmet thing.
We're Commissioner
I'm
Peach, Chairman
sorry.
Falk, all members of the commission, we are currently waiting to hear back from a grant that we applied for. The deadline was the first quarter. We're hoping to hear back very, very soon on that grant. Addressing the comment about a flat 5,000 or flat 8,000, that is something that I considered. I did have conversations with Ms. Thiel, and that would create havoc on our pay scale because it would throw off the percentages. If we give $5,000 to a grade 9-1 and we give $5,000 to a grade 10-13, it's going to completely throw the percentages out of whack moving forward for pay.
But if we ran the whole thing and looked at it,
Right, and that would be something that I defer to finance to have them adjust the spreadsheet.
and just see what happens.
Yeah.
That would at least give us a better visual between the two. Sorry, I can't drop the helmet thing, but we would save so many lives. Sorry, that's my new.
Well, it's not only that, but it's the rifle rated body armor also. We were able to obtain that this year.
Good. I think that's the comments that I have.
Okay. Just briefly, the sheriff's request, it's not only his department have talked to me, had at least two others, correctional center and the state's attorney's office have been on me for 2 or 3 months now about their salaries and losing people. So, and there's another department, and of course I see Mr. West here, I'm sure he's gonna raise his hand, but
I do have a comment, but
but you're not in this meeting, so thank you. We'll talk to you later. We already have enough problems here.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
gotta-
anyway, I respect that. And I indicated to Sheriff Schneider that I think this is kind of a scattered approach if we just focus on the sheriff's department. First of all, I look right away at 113,000 if we raise the top end of their sheriff's department to that salary, which I'm not saying is right or wrong at this point. These are just numbers we're throwing out. We're gonna have a dozen people from Haley's office over here. Yeah, I'm getting a nod from Carmel right now. So, you know, that's gonna throw our entire salary schedule completely out of adjustment. And I agree. I think they are underpaid. I don't have any problems with that. I think the better way to do this is to have a salary schedule done, which we talked about a year ago, but because of COVID and actually at that time, I don't think we would have had the money, maybe still don't, to fix it. But to have a salary schedule done or a update on it by an independent agency that we've used, either the one in the past or a new one, which would cover all of the jobs that we might have across the board, because this is only going to create more problems for us. And a study actually might have a greater salary. My guess is a study will put greater salary on starting deputies and less on higher end deputies to help solve this problem. It'll be a little different grid. That's just a guess on my part. I don't know. In my concerns about the employees, I already talked with Ms. Nelson about our budget process, which we're going to do a little different this year. We're going to hear from the employees first and work on their salaries, and then work on everybody else's requests. And because oftentimes when they're on the end, they get kind of what's left over, and that's causing the problems that we're having right now. Because we've inadequately addressed some of their salary issues in the past. So I think by doing that, at least starting here in May, when we start the budget process, that will be a step forward. And we can move forward with bringing in this consultants as quickly as possible, and I would advocate for that. Now, the other way of helping out, at least short term, and I think Ms. Wamstead has used that at least a couple of times now. You can hire up 2 steps up. Is it 2?
I think it's 3 at
3 up to the 3rd step instead of the 1st step. And then we could begin, or we could hire those people at that step. Now, I realize that creates at least some short-term problems, but it gives them manpower right away, or at least it should get more applicants in if they're, getting, I'm not sure what, I'll just saw $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 more starting, I don't know. But to me, that's a start in this process. I appreciate all the work, and I fully expected these numbers to be somewhat the way they are. Oil country is very difficult. We can't really compare ourselves with them. Even with their salaries, they don't think they get the quality of people that we get here. Just because there are higher competing salaries for people out there. And then it's difficult for us to compete. We need to compete, or we need to outcompete some of these smaller counties you brought up, Sheriff. That's pretty clear. It's difficult for us to compete with Cass County because they have an incredible tax base compared to ours. So that's my 2 cents. We have 2 commissioners here that are on the committee. Do we have any comments from Commissioner Ross, anything?
Yeah, I guess I would just like to say that I know where Sheriff Schneider's coming from. I've been there, done that. And actually under several administrations, Gordy Taylor, John Schroeder, Dan Hill, and always it seems like we have had this issue with pay. And I too, actually Dan Hill, have lost several deputies because of the pay. In fact, 4 at one time went over to Polk County over in Minnesota. And it is a serious issue. I mean, we need top quality people here. We really do. And I think Sheriff Schneider has those people. It would be nice to retain them. I mean, I lost people all the time because of the pay issue. It's very frustrating, because they are good people. And I think we seriously need to look at that pay scale with the sheriff's office, because I think they are underpaid. And if we're going to get quality people, if we're going to get a job well done, we need to pay them and we need to keep them.
Chairman Volk, if I may.
Yeah.
But one thing on Bob's Commissioner Ross note there is, there's a few people that stick around because we were born and raised here and this is where we want to work. Unfortunately, there's not overflowing amount of people coming from Grand Forks or Grand Forks County that are fighting to be deputy sheriffs or police officers in our county. The ones that aren't from here seem like the ones that we're trying to have a harder time to retain and make this their permanent home. On that note, you talked about us. We're not sure if a special scale is the correct way to go about it. In conversations with Burleigh County Sheriff's Office and Cass County Sheriff's Office, who are number 1 and number 2 in size, they both went through their commissions and were able to get salary increases with the law enforcement pay scale. So it's not exactly an anomaly that's happening. I didn't reach out to the other 50 sheriffs in the state to see how many more are doing it, but it is being done out there. The reason that I'm bringing it up this early, and I've been putting legwork into it, is because I wouldn't say I'm fearful, but if we wait and we kick this can and wait for a study, we know that it's going to be at least 2 more years before there's any increases for any employees in the county. That's why I encouraged myself, and I would encourage other department heads to put some legwork in on this as well if they feel like they're underpaid. Our support staff is underpaid also. I realize that retention there is great. They love working where they're at. I mean, Michelle's been here almost 50 years. You know, she's not going anywhere. But we have great support staff, and you know, they're not leaving me. They're not under my umbrella. They're under the county umbrella. Thankfully, they're sticking around. They like where they work. The deputies, on the other hand, I feel like I have more responsibility to help get their increases because they are my direct responsibility.
I'm not opposed necessarily to considering some separate pay scale, except it has to dovetail with the scales that we have with all the other employees. A separate pay scale, going back to when I was in the state attorney's office, we argued for that office for years because of the educational requirements in that office. And I think that was to no avail also, but and you know, I look, we could, I think, reach or look at Cass and Burleigh County. They are about 5,000, 6,000 above us. So I mean, it's not saying that we're necessarily going to get there. You know, the Grand Forks Police Department salaries, I think I started work here, well, over 40 years ago. They've always been higher than the sheriff's salary. Never have we been close, which isn't good. I'm not proud of that, but that's just reality. So once again, I think it goes to their tax base. But Commissioner Knopf, do you have a comment?
I hear everything you're saying. You're right on. I mean, we are behind in our salary, but I'm of the opinion that we need to look at across the board for the whole county rather than just individual departments, because I think we're going to create other problems if we don't do that. And I think that hopefully we could, if we hired someone, we could get somebody on that as quickly as possible so that we could even consider that or come up with other options, temporary for going into our 2022 budget, just to see where we are with all of that. I think that we can make adjustments. We'll do our best with that, and I'm glad to hear that we're putting staff first in our budget process this year, and then coming in after the fact with department needs. But I think that with studies and things like that, that almost needs to be done annually, you know, and it's been several years, many years since we've done it. But I do think that we need to do it department wide for the whole county. I mean, you could ask any of the other departments and they're in the same position you are, losing people for the same reasons, all of that. And so I think that needs to be our focus, you know, try to make some adjustments for 2022 as best we can, but go with that study and have that done as quickly as possible is my thoughts on it.
Yes.
Ms. Thiel, so I guess the question is, when we look at some kind of a corporation or company to do a study, a salary study, we don't want I mean, I agree. We don't want something that's gonna go way into the future. Is it feasible to get a company to do a salary study in a shorter turnaround time than what we've had done in the past? I don't have a lot of experience in salary studies, so.
So Commissioner Peach and the rest of the commissioners, it's something I can definitely explore. There are a couple of different options that I've also been kind of bouncing around. One is, you know, if we're able to get an approval to do a salary survey with a consultant, if we're able to work out the timing, possibly having, instead of having January 1 of 2023 as the date that you would be able to implement a new scale. Maybe if we're able to do it timing wise, and I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to talk to a couple of different companies that I've got some feelers out to. But maybe we could get something done that would be able to have information mid-year. Granted, it's hard to budget because we don't know what that would possibly look like, but if that's on the radar, that maybe we're looking at July of 2022 instead of January of 2023. The other piece that I've been thinking of is also we could do something as an initial step of making kind of a market adjustment, while then we work with the consultants to not only, if we did a market adjustment, it could impact everyone except human service zone employees. And then we can work with a consultant to see, maybe we do have more than one pay scale that's put in place, which our payroll software would handle, but it could be something that they design that we know takes all the factors like education and safety and all those pieces into consideration. So there's a potential. I don't know what, I can't give you a percentage, but there are quite a few different options that I've been thinking of for this year. So.
I just have a question too. You know, there's got to be other counties that have done studies recently. And I don't know what you, and I know that that isn't what we want to go by, but in the interim, until we have our own, it kind of gives us a little bit of history there.
So one thing I can tell you is today, the Association of Counties released the salary survey that they, for this year. It just got released this afternoon. So I haven't, other than downloading the data, I haven't really been able to do hardly anything. But I was going to definitely carve out the pieces that belong to the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office and send you that spreadsheet. So then you can see everything that was inputted. And it'll have some positions that you guys don't even carry. So that's on my to-do list. That's part of the influence of if we're looking at kind of doing a cost of living or a market adjustment, as well as taking in the consumer price index pieces. So yeah, we're kind of right on board. A lot of people that normally would have done salary surveys last year, they started them, COVID hit, they stopped them. This year, not a lot of people restarted it because the thought process was they were gonna wait until 2022 so that things, you know, wouldn't have as much of a COVID impact. But I think now, at least if we start the conversation with some of the consultants, we could have, what does that look like and what does timing look like? I can tell you that there are counties such as Cass, where not every grade has the same number of steps. Some of them have positions within a grade. So as an example, when Sheriff Schneider was talking about his grade 9s, there may be some that say, okay, within the county, these 4 positions are all grade 9. The minimum starting wage for a grade 9 that is a sheriff's deputy could be different than the minimum of a grade 9 that may be an administrative position in another department. Those are kind of creative things. You're seeing more of that type of creative compensation than just having everyone who's in the same grade, starts at the same wage, ends at the same wage. But they do, if they use grades and steps, they have the same percentages going across the steps or down the grades, but they don't always start everybody at the same place. If you'd like to see the Cass County one, I have probably 75 pages of little tiny type that I printed out that I got from them. That's straight out of their payroll software. So those are the kinds of things you can work with a consultant and say, I know we've done it this way forever and ever. The world has changed. What other kind of options do we have to recognize the differences?
Yeah, Okay,
Not sure who.
I just a comment, if you will come to our meeting at 4 o'clock, obviously.
Yep.
And then I think we need to look towards expediting or finding, having Michelle find a company for us or whatever.
Absolutely.
And my only other comment, I'll get to Commissioner Peach here in a second, is that I told technology would be done here by 3:45, so they can get the system up and running for the 4 o'clock meeting. So Commissioner Peach.
This is just a question on, to Sheriff Schneider. When you do hire, new deputies, do you ever look at the 2 steps above so that you can hire them at a larger wage than the 44,534.07?
Yeah, Chairman Falk, Commissioner Peach, members of the commission, I have looked at that. Those are actually a couple of the offers I made to the individuals with higher training,
Okay.
and they respectfully declined. One note on Ms. Thiel's comments, the Association of Counties, their salary study covers every county position. It's all in there. I have access to it. I've looked at it. I haven't looked at the new data from this year. The last year, average deputy salary is 52,000 and we're at 44. Well, it was 44,294. So I did note that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? We will take that under consideration. We will talk with Ms. Steele at 4 o'clock and we will adjourn this meeting so technology can get in.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate all the
Very
information
much.
and all the work that you did on this. Thanks.
Very much.
That's why
I have no idea how you turn this off.
Feel free to.